You're listening to a G-Funkster production. G-Funkster. G-Funkster.
Welcome to Spyder Auto's taillight installation guide for the 08 to 10 Honda Accord sedan. Before we get started, you'll need the following: painter's tape or masking tape, a 10mm deep socket and ratchet, a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a panel popper tool. We'll start with the masking tape to mask off the edges of the bumper and fender to protect the paint while we're working. Now let's move to the rear edge of the rear wheel arch. We're going to remove these two Phillips head screws. The first one's easy to see, but the second one isn't so easy, and it's positioned straight up. If you look carefully, you can see the Phillips head screw right here. Our next step takes us totally behind the car, right under the rear bumper. Remove these two plastic retainers using a panel popper tool. Set those retainers aside somewhere you won't lose them. Now let's open the trunk. Just inboard of each taillight are two roughly oval-shaped bolt covers. Here they are. There's the second. Remove them using a flathead screwdriver by gently prying them loose, like this. Easy as that. Watch again as we remove the second bumper bolt cover. Now we'll remove the two 10mm bolts behind those covers. There's one, and that's the second. Now we can unseat the rear bumper by gently pulling it outward at the corners. Now we can remove the bumper. Set it aside somewhere where it won't get scratched easily. Going back to the trunk, now we'll need to remove these three plastic retainers. 1, 2, and 3. Use a panel popper to remove the fasteners. It's worth noting our test car is missing some of its hardware, so we have a few less retainers to remove. You should now be able to pull back the trunk liner pretty easily. Now to remove the trunk filler panel. Remove it by pulling it upward. Remove the filler panel and set it aside. Let's peel back that trunk liner again, and we need to remove these four 10mm nuts that secure the tail light from the inside of the trunk. But we're not out of the woods yet. There are still more bolts to remove after these four. Now that we've removed all four nuts, we need to disconnect the wiring harness. Push down on that little tab and it should just slide free. Gently push the taillight outward to unseat it. Moving back outside, now we have to deal with this bracket here. remove the single Phillips head screw that's securing the bracket to the light. Now remove the two 10mm bolts and the bracket. Now we can unseat the tail light completely so it's loose, however we've still got a few things to handle. Now disconnect the turn signal and reverse light wiring harnesses. With the harnesses removed, now we can remove the tail light. We're not done with it yet though, set it aside on a soft non-abrasive surface. Let's have a look at the reverse of our old light and our new one. We're going to need to transfer a few things over. Remove the brake light socket from your original and set that aside for now. Remove your turn signal and reverse sockets as well. You should have the following removed from your original light. Now we're going to transfer these over. Start by installing the turn signal bulb in its socket. Lock it securely in place for a tight seal. Now install the reverse bulb in its socket as well. Twist that into place and lock it. This harness insert here will come into play in a moment. Now let's go ahead and start seating our new tail light, but first we're going to reconnect our turn signal and reverse lamp wiring harnesses as shown here. After getting both harnesses connected, we can reseat the tail light fully. Moving to the trunk side of things, remember our brake lamp bulb? Remove it from its socket and retain the socket. Plug the socket into the car's wiring harness. Note the wire colors leading out of the harness. The black wires on the right here. Now remember this little wiring harness insert leading off the tail light? Line up the black wire side of that with the black wire side of your original wiring harness. The colors should match up like this. If the colors are not matched, your lights will not work and you could even blow fuses, so be sure that they're properly matched before continuing. Insert the brake lamp socket fully into the housing and twist it firmly into place for the best seal. A poor seal can cause condensation problems. Now reinstall the four 10mm nuts that secure the tail light from the inside of the trunk. After installing all four, push the trunk liner back into place. Then just reinstall the plastic retainers that hold in the trunk liner, and then reinstall the trunk filler panel by pushing it firmly into place. It should just snap right in. Now to reinstall the taillight bracket and the two 10mm bolts that hold it into place. After installing the two 10mm taillight bracket bolts, reinstall the Phillips head screw that secures the bracket to the taillight. Now we can remount the rear bumper. You may want to have a friend help you. A few gentle taps with an open palm should snap the bumper back into place. Now to reinstall the two Phillips head screws at the wheel arch. Install the one that's straight up first, and then the second. Moving back to the rear, now it's time to reinstall the two 10mm bumper bolts. There's one. And that's the second. After installing the bolts, now just reinstall the bumper bolt covers by pushing them into place. And with that, we're all done in the trunk. Now, moving back underneath, we've just got to reinstall the two plastic bumper retainers, and we're finished.
Misery.
Yeah, buddy, you've just successfully installed Spyder LED taillights on your Honda Accord. Videography by Nitro Nick. Visit SpyderAuto.com for more information, and check us out on Facebook.